Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
Hello, Internet. I am Niall.
And I'm Nolan.
And this is the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show. And we are reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, it starts a little late. We were out of town for 5 days.
Yep.
And just didn't get a chance to see it until we came back.
Correct. Which we went and saw it. Let's see. Our plane landed at like 6:30, and then we went and saw it at 8:30 that night.
Yep.
So, we were on it just as soon as we had time to do it.
Right.
But
so,
as is tradition, we're gonna do a spoiler-free review part at the beginning, and throw up a big old spoiler warning for you, and then get a little more in depth with it.
right.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna come out and say it. This is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I liked the first two Sam Raimi ones. I liked the first Amazing Spider-Man.
You know, there's a lot of people that think that the second, so Spider-Man 2, the second of the Sam Raimi movies, is the best Spider-Man movie, even after Homecoming came out.
No. I think it's been a while since I've seen them, but
I just
from my memory, I would rank 1 and 2 about the same. And
all I remember from the second,
I don't know. I might have liked Amazing Spider-Man a little bit better, but
all I remember from Spider-Man 2 was that Doc Ock was the villain, and he used his robot arms to like push down sun flares on this artificial star he was using to try to create a infinite, or like clean energy, infinite source of energy or whatever.
Yeah, I think
trying to make a fusion reactor. Yeah. And what's weird is I actually remember Spider-Man 3 more, even though I'm confident I saw it fewer
because
times.
of all the memes.
Yeah, well, I remember Emo Jazz.
Well, there's that one picture of him like with that like silly like look on his face where it's like
when he's got the
mouth is all like pointed down.
When he's got the black hair.
That it gets used on the internet for things all the time.
Yeah, it does. And honestly, I kind of remember. I remember liking the Amazing Spider-Man, but I just remember that not. I remember thinking that Osborn's storyline was like way too condensed and sped up.
Well, that was in the second one.
Oh, that was in the second one.
Yeah.
God.
The second one was really, really bad.
That was the one that had Jamie Foxx's Electro, though.
Yes.
Okay. Who was the villain in the first Amazing Spider-Man?
Lizard.
Oh, right. I remember now because when we first saw the trailers for that come out, we're like, well, that's a villain that can't carry a movie.
Yeah.
And
he didn't really, but since they had an origin story in there and the whole romance with him and Gwen Stacy,
right,
that carried the movie.
But you know what? For Spider-Man Homecoming, they took the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, and made him cool.
They did.
They made a really cool Vulture.
One thing I thought was really cool was because the Vulture was always ridiculous looking. He's this bald guy, like scrawny, and he had this like ruff of feathers around his neck like a vulture. And it looked ridiculous, but what they did is they gave Michael Keaton this bomber jacket.
Yep.
And then with the fur collar, the fur was a little longer than you would normally see on a bomber jacket, but it worked. It looked cool, and that became the ruff around his neck.
And the mask is what made the like bald look. So, I mean, Michael Keaton's hair is buzzed pretty short in this movie, but
and he's got his hairline is receded pretty far.
Yeah, but the mask he wore like looked like a skull cap on the top, and it had like the glowing green eyes and stuff. I mean, you've seen the trailers. It's cool looking though, and
it is.
He uses the claws underneath to grab stuff, to steal stuff, which I don't really want to get too into that.
No,
and
I don't want to get too into what his plot is or anything.
Non-spoiler section. I will say. I mean, we can say what his origin is, right? Because it's like in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, he was a contractor who was cleaning up after
the incident.
The incident, as it's come to be known within the MCU from Avengers, and the government came in and said, "Nope, you're not doing that anymore. We're taking over." And so
he had a contract from the city.
Yeah.
The federal government stepped in, and that whole thing was funded by Stark Industries, and so he blamed it all on Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, they caused this mess, and then they're the ones who profit from cleaning it up.
Right. So, let's see. I think Tom Holland is a really great Peter Parker.
Yes.
He's funny. He's very personable. You just instantly like the guy. And he does a really good job acting like in a physical way, because when you're completely covered head to toe, you have no features to act with, and his body movements.
There's a scene with him and Donald Glover where he's like very clearly out of his element and nervous and stuff, and it really comes out. It's just like the way he like tries to lean on things and like doesn't know what to do with his hands. It seems like
right. And then there's the scene in the scene from the trailer where he comes in on the guys wearing the Avengers masks and they're breaking into the ATM. Well, you know, it's obviously longer than the movie.
I have a gripe with that.
Well, we'll get to that later.
We'll get into that in a minute. But
he comes in and he's all like trying to like. He's like, he comes in, he sees them, and they haven't noticed him yet, and he's like, what should I do? So he's sort of like trying to figure out. He's looking around, then he ultimately decides on like leaning against the wall, all like nonchalant. And then they haven't even noticed him there the whole time, and he's like, looking around, and I'll stand in this position before he jumps into it. It's just really funny, and he has pretty good comic timing, and he's a pretty great Peter Parker.
Yeah, but that scene, I hate when movies. Like, I'm fine when movies change dialogue or, you know, make little tweaks between the trailer and the final movie. But that scene they changed, and I have two major complaints about that change. For one, how many times did we see that trailer with the dialogue where he comes in, he says, "Hey, you're not the real Avengers, I can tell," Hulk gives it away, which is funny.
Right.
It's a funny line. And we saw that trailer, you know, how many times?
Yeah, it's totally different in the movie.
Yeah, and in the movie...
That line, what they replace it with is not as funny.
Yeah, and I don't even remember what the line was.
No, it just was not as funny. It was better in the trailer.
And he did have one line in that fight that was kind of funny, where when he grabs the guy wearing the Iron Man mask, and he's like, "Hey, why are you robbing a bank? You're a billionaire."
Yeah.
And it was one of those lines where it's like, it's funny because when you understand that, Peter Parker says a lot of really cheesy one-liners in his attempt to like act tough, and it never comes off sounding tough.
No, but that is Peter Parker's staple.
Right.
If you've ever read Spider-Man, that's how he is, and
that's how he's been portrayed. He's been portrayed that way in all the movies too.
It's funny, like Deadpool is the merc with the mouth. Spider-Man talks as much as Deadpool, but his jokes are clean.
Right. Yeah, he really does talk as much as Deadpool.
In the comic book, Spider-Man he talks as much, he's as obnoxious as Deadpool. It's just his jokes are all clean, and he doesn't get the crap for it that Deadpool does.
Right.
But anyway, so back onto the movie. So I think pretty much everyone gave a pretty good performance in the movie. But the standouts were obviously Tom Holland and Michael Keaton, because, you know, and for what little time Robert Downey Jr. was actually in the movie, he was good.
Hannibal Buress.
Hannibal Buress, yes,
was probably the best. Had the funniest line in the movie. I don't want to spoil it because it's when it's delivered, and I mean his very dry delivery in everything he's in,
apathetic about everything.
Yeah, that's just the character he always plays. So he was in Neighbors. He was the cop in Neighbors.
Yeah, when he showed up.
He's like we have caller ID. You know, we're the cops. Everyone has caller ID.
And then we talked about him in our Baywatch review because he was in that.
He was in that.
He gave some great lines in that.
Yeah, so I mean he's really funny. He plays the PE coach at the school that Peter Parker goes to. So, which in this he doesn't go to a regular high school. He goes to a
it's like a
tech school,
science and tech academy.
Yeah, which is sort of a weird shift in dynamic. Not weird, but an interesting shift in dynamic because it's like, previously all the time it was Peter Parker went to random generic high school in Queens.
Yeah.
And since he was that nerdy kid, he got bullied and picked on. Well, he's still bullied and picked on, just not physically.
Right. I'll get into. I have something regarding that. We'll get into in the spoiler portion.
Right.
But Flash is still his
spoiler portion.
Portion. Yum 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 yum. Yeehaw! Anyway, Flash is still the bully, but it's not in any physical way. He's just an asshole to Peter all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a interesting take on Peter Parker's high school career.
Right. Did they do that in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, or was it just he was in some special advanced
I don't remember,
class?
dude.
I don't remember.
But
yeah,
it's and I really like the way they handled Spider-Man's origin in this as well.
Yeah, all it was that he and his friend are walking down the street, and they're just he just tells them about it.
Once Ned.
Yeah,
once
and
Ned,
Ned finds out from the trailer. So that's
Ned finds out that he's Spider-Man. It's in the trailer. He drops the Death Star, the Lego Death Star, on the floor and it breaks and stuff. Once Ned finds out, there's this montage of him just asking him questions in all their classes and stuff. And it's just at one point it shows them walking up to school, and he's saying something about so that's it? You're just bit by a spider? Maybe I could be bit by a spider. So it's I mean,
that's all it was.
That's all you need to know.
You already know Spider-Man's origins. So.
Yeah, he's bit by. Although whether or not it's a genetically altered or radioactive spider in this one is unknown, but it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter at this point. We knew. I mean, they revealed that much of his origin in Civil War.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad we didn't have an origin story because.
And I'm glad it was done as in passing as it was.
Because we all know it. We've seen it twice before.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, if all you know of Spider-Man is the movies, you've seen it a couple times.
Right. So. Yeah, and it's but overall, I mean, it's a really great movie, and there's a twist about 2/3 of the way through that I legitimately did not see coming at all.
I don't think anyone did because people in the audience were gasping.
Right.
You could hear the rest of the audience
Yeah. There was a lot of people in the audience that reacted to this twist, and we'll get into that in the spoiler part.
Right.
But I love it when a movie does that, and it didn't feel forced.
Yeah.
It's just, and then it's sort of you think about some of the dialogue that was said earlier in the movie, and things seem lines that seem like throwaway lines before are now very clearly more significant lines. So I think it was really well done in that regard. And I don't want to say what character it involves because I don't want you to go into it having any preconceived notions about it.
Yep. Let's see, who else was sent out? Oh, Donald Glover had some good lines in it. Yeah.
He was a pretty minor part. He had a couple of scenes.
Let's see.
Jacob Batalon, is that how you pronounce his name? The guy who played Ned.
Ned.
Yeah. He actually was a really good performance too.
Right. He had this one line at the end of the movie just cracked me up. When he's caught in the school computer lab.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Let's see, going through, like I said, everyone, good performance. I don't have any complaints about any of the acting.
Yeah, it's good performances all around. The storyline was well done. It felt like a Spider-Man movie, but it also felt very much at home in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was kind of like, it was more involved into it was more interconnected with the existing MCU than like Ant-Man was.
It's kind of it fits in this little spot that's somewhere between the regular MCU movies and the Netflix series, and it's not as big as most of what you get from the MCU, but it's a little bigger than the Netflix.
Yeah. So what I mean though is like I was comparing it to Ant-Man, where Ant-Man could basically be its own self-contained story.
Right.
I mean, it's like they might have mentioned at some point.
Well, they bring in the Falcon.
Yeah, they bring in the Falcon, but like for one scene.
Right.
But other than that, like it does not touch the lives of any of the other Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man features pretty heavily in this movie, but at the same time, the events that are going on are not even really on the Avengers' radar.
Right.
So, you know, it's an interesting spot that it exists in. But I think we've pretty much said what we can without spoiling anything.
Yeah, definitely go see it.
Absolutely go see it.
I mean, it's the latest MCU movie, so you're probably going to see it anyway.
Or I've already seen it.
Or I've already seen it, but yeah, I mean, we're coming to this a little late.
Yeah.
But
you've probably already seen it and are just watching this to justify your opinions on the movie.
Yeah, it's,
like
in my
Nolan
opinion,
does.
the best Spider-Man movie. There's a lot of people out there on the internet that are saying that no to that, but
well,
whatever.
There's a lot of people that remember the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies more fondly than deserve. Not that they were bad. Sam Raimi approached the Spider-Man movies from the perspective of Spider-Man's a ridiculous character. He's always been a ridiculous, cheesy character. I'm going to make a ridiculous, cheesy movie. And that's
Sam
fine.
Raimi just makes ridiculous, cheesy movies
right,
most of the time.
Which is why he was an appropriate director for that
most
movie.
of the time, anyway.
Which is why he's an appropriate director for those movies. But he was a good choice for those movies. But this is a Spider-Man that has to exist in the established, otherwise serious take on the Avengers and the Marvel movie, the Marvel universe as a whole.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, there are characters in it that are funny, but the overall stories being told are much more serious than that. So, but yeah, definitely, in our opinions anyway, the best of the Spider-Man movies. So go see it.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't mind seeing it again in theater, though I have no freaking clue when we're gonna have time to do that because this weekend is Dunkirk and Valerian.
Yep.
But so from this moment forth, spoilers. You've been warned.
Yeah.
So can we take a moment to talk about how Gwyneth Paltrow's billing was like really high in the end credits?
And she had one scene.
She was and it was she had one scene with like 5 lines.
It was super minor.
Yeah.
Like you could have easily completely written her out.
Yeah. Yeah, she really didn't need to be there other than apparently they just wanted to have her kiss Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, well, apparently, like, I guess he proposes to her.
Maybe.
Off camera. Maybe.
Yeah, we assume. They
Yeah.
implied that was going to happen, but it's Tony Stark, so who the hell knows?
Yep. Okay.
But anyway, that just kind of bothered me when it was like she was like the first or second.
Yeah, it was like Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, it was just
credits.
It just felt weird.
Right.
But
okay, so I need to get something off my chest. And that is that stupid people should not review movies.
All right.
That's the gist. I'm going to delve into that. So I was reading reviews on IMDb after we'd seen it.
Don't know why you ever do that. They always piss you off.
No, they don't. But I want to see other people's opinion. But for the most part, good reviews. But then there's the people that think it's horrible for whatever reason. But there's this one negative review. And it starts off saying, okay, the actors were very good. Tom Holland was great. Okay. But they ruined Spider-Man as a character and thus ruined my childhood. The guy used those words. Ruined my childhood. And,
okay.
So, among other things, like, for one thing, he didn't like that Flash was Indian or whatever. Or not white. And that his bullying went from physical to being verbal. Which the filmmakers said that's what most bullying is these days.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, is I feel like that's just a reflection of the times.
Right, that was their excuse for that, it is a reflection of the times, because most bullying is of that nature these days and not of physical violence, because you can't really get away with the physical stuff as a bully anywhere. Anyway, but bump the mic stand. Anyway, so
wild gesticulation.
Yeah, wild gesticulation. The way he feels that Spider-Man was ruined as a character was he did not like the high-tech suit. He goes on this whole rant about Spider-Man doesn't need a high-tech suit. Spider-Man never had a high-tech suit. I'm like, well, okay, you haven't read Spider-Man for a few years. He has a very high-tech suit.
Yeah, since Peter Parker has a tech company that rivals Stark Industries.
Right. So, okay. Back when you were a child and reading Spider-Man, no, he probably didn't have a high-tech suit. And it's this whole rant about how it just ruins a character because the high-tech suit isn't Spider-Man, and he hates the fact that he's using the Stark tech because it's like, it makes you feel like it's only Stark's tech that makes him special, and it's this whole thing, right? And I get to the end of this, I'm like, you completely miss the moral of the movie.
I was gonna say, moral of the movie. Wasn't there a big plot point where he specifically determines that it's not, like, it's specifically a whole plot point of him discovering that it's not Stark's suit that makes him Spider-Man?
He has this high-tech suit from Stark, but most of its abilities are locked, right?
Yeah.
So once he unlocks those, he hacks into it, and he and Ned hack into the suit, and they unlock it, and he becomes a worse hero for it. It was sort of hit and miss with him before, but now he's just screwing everything up. Left and right, he can't do anything right after he unlocks the higher level stuff in the suit. And then there's this whole scene you've seen, that it's in the trailer, where Stark takes the suit away, and he's like, I'm nothing without the suit. And Stark's like, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it.
Right.
And so he takes it away, and from there on in, all he has is his sweats and his hoodie. And with
the weird goggle things.
Right. And so when he's back to his sweats and his hoodie, then he's able to take out the Vulture. With just the sweat, without the suit at all.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the whole point, is him.
That's the point of the movie.
He has this whole inner monologue realization thing of like there's a part where he's like, he looks defeated wholly. Mm-hmm. And there's this part where he Tony Stark's words play back in his head, and he's like, I need to prove that I'm deserving of that suit, and has this whole proving to himself that he's more than the suit.
Right.
And it's a very significant plot point.
That's the moral of the movie.
Yeah.
And so if you're too stupid to look past your hatred of a high-tech suit to see that the moral of the movie is that he is better without it, then you don't deserve to write movie reviews.
Technology confuses and scares me.
You don't deserve to write movie reviews. I hope you're listening to this guy who wrote that movie review.
Damn, Nolan.
Just did you get up and just leave in the middle of the movie so you didn't see the last half?
He was so angry at the high-tech suit.
He was so angry at the high-tech suit, he just gets up and walks out in the middle of the movie, doesn't see the last half.
Apparently.
Where his whole point is shown.
Yeah.
So I had to get that off my chest. It's I hate when movie reviews just miss a plot point. Like, this movie's dumb because of this. I'm like, well, that was in the movie. Why are you complaining?
So, I would also like to point out, by the way, that the Flash not being white doesn't matter.
It's not the Flash. He's not a superhero. He's Flash Thompson.
Yeah, no, I know. You know what I mean, though. Flash. I'm saying the Flash not being white thing.
Oh, okay.
Is part of his review is what I was talking about.
Okay.
It does not matter when he's not going to be at any point Venom.
No.
In fact, he's not even the character's not even called Flash Thompson. It's just Flash.
Yeah, you never hear his last name. It's probably Patel or something.
Yeah. So it just doesn't matter.
No. And like I said, it's a tech school. I mean, they have Jim, but no one there is like a jock or anything. He's the current age bully who bullies through verbal stuff.
Yeah, he's got all of Daddy's money, and he.
One thing that bugged me is a lot of his bullying hinged around the fact that he did not believe Peter had ever met Tony Stark. And he's just making fun, like, oh, you're making this up. There's no way you met Tony Stark. He's like, Peter Parker has a video on his phone of him and Tony Stark making a video saying hi to Aunt May, so he has an excuse to be like, oh, look, Aunt May, here's what we did. Here's me and Mr. Stark riding in a limo.
Yeah.
How cool is this? Why doesn't he just show him that video? Yeah. Show him, like, oh, here, Flash, here's the video on my phone of me and Mr. Stark hanging out.
Yeah.
And then just shut him up. Like, just hey, Flash, shut up. Look at the video.
Yeah.
So that bugged me. I was like, why doesn't he just do that?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, though, is like the whole movie. Peter doesn't want to like leverage the fact that he has met Tony Stark and works. I mean, he has a Stark internship when really it's just he reports to Happy, who's head of security for Stark. He's basically he's Stark's Batman, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he has been since the first movie,
right? But I mean, it's like that's the role he plays, or that's the role that Happy fulfills, and so he just reports to Happy.
And Happy doesn't want to have anything to do with him.
Right. But that
just dismisses everything out of hand.
Yeah.
That Peter reports. So,
I mean, he must be sending it along to
yeah, because when Stark shows up, he's aware of the stuff that...
Right, he must be passing along Stark. Just when Stark shows up, he like mentions, he's like, why can't you just keep doing the churro lady thing or whatever? And it's like, okay, well, he only mentioned that to Happy.
Yeah.
So he must be
Happy's passing it along, but Happy's not. Happy doesn't care himself.
Right.
Until the end, when Peter saves the day, and Happy's like, oh shit, I guess I should have listened to him.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh, that scene we were talking about in the
twist?
The twist is Michael Keaton, the Vulture, is the father of Liz, the love interest.
Right. When he opened the door, everyone's like, because Peter's taken her to Homecoming.
Yep.
Which is, I guess, the origin of the Homecoming title. Or part of it, anyway.
The subtitle of Homecoming felt kind of weak.
Yeah. So anyway, he shows up to pick her up, to take her to the dance, and Michael Keaton opens the door. And he's just like, and at first, like, it didn't initially dawn on me that he was her father.
It dawned on me instantly.
Well, first I was like, oh shit, did he learn that Peter likes this girl? Then I'm like, well, no, because he has no idea that Peter is Spider-Man. Yeah. So there's no way that that's the case. Then it dawned on me that he's Liz's father.
It dawned on me because then I remember at some point Michael Keaton mentioning, like, doing what he was doing for his wife and daughter.
Right.
And at the time, it felt like just a throwaway line. But then like, that came back to me and was like, oh. You know?
Yeah, so what he is doing is stealing alien tech and Stark tech.
Yeah, so
and turning it into weapons that he's selling to
at the very
bad guys.
beginning of the movie, they're ordered to hand over all of the when they're taken off the job of salvaging the alien stuff off the city contract. They're ordered to turn over all the alien stuff that they had salvaged up to that point, and there's a pickup truck bed load that they forget that they choose not to turn over. And the Tinkerer,
one of the guys that works for him, is the character, the Tinkerer.
Right. He starts experimenting with the tech and develops weapons. And so they're selling these weapons to crooks because in a super powered world, the crooks need somehow to get the upper hand.
Ray guns and stuff. And that's where I think Donald Glover's possibly best line is when his character is he's buying some of the stuff off some of these guys, and they're showing him like these guns that blow stuff up and everything, and he's like, "Why are you trying to upsell me? All I need is something to scare someone off. I don't need to send them back in time."
Yeah. Yeah, and but yeah, so he starts this racket of stealing. So they find when truckloads of stuff are being shipped to the facility where they store all this salvaged alien tech. And so he swoops in on top of the trucks. He has this alien tech stuff, these 4 things he throws out that opens a hole on the top of the... It's like it lets him pass through the matter or whatever on the top of the truck. He swoops in, grabs some stuff with the claws on the vulture suit, and flies off.
And takes his hole with him, so they're none the wiser.
They're none the wiser. And yeah, so that's what Peter catches them doing, and so that's that's the main plot. That's the plot he's trying to foil for these for the villain in the movie.
Right.
So,
and they have this like scene. They're sitting in the car and like, so Michael Keaton is driving the two of them to the dance, and
Peter's been acting weird this whole time.
Right, because he knows he knows that Michael Keaton's the Vulture. Michael Keaton hasn't figured out that he's Spider-Man yet. And his daughter, though, is talking to him about Peter, like, trying to say, Dad, my new boyfriend Peter he's doing this, he does this, and isn't he so great? She's trying to talk him up to him.
The fact that he was missing from, because, like...
Yeah, so he's putting things that she's saying together and realizing that he's Spider-Man.
Because he works for Stark, and he was missing during the thing in DC where Spider-Man showed up and saved his daughter Liz and Ned and their teacher
and some other kids
and and the fact that he I think she mentions that she mentions at some point that he was also missing from the he went missing from the hotel the night that his last heist was foiled.
Right, and then also that he had met Spider-Man through Tony Stark. Yeah, that was part of it too. So anyway, he realizes that Peter's Spider-Man, and he's like, and so it's dawning on each other, that the other one knows. And they're sitting there, and so they get to the school, and he's just, Liz, honey, I'm gonna Peter the dad talk, and he's like turns around. This is like a really menacing conversation they have with Peter in the back seat and him in
Yeah,
the front.
he's basically like, you saved my daughter's life, and for that I'm grateful.
I'll give you one chance.
Right.
Get out of this now. If I see you again, I'll kill you. Or if you try to stop me again, I'll kill you. Basically, but it's a really tense scene.
Yeah.
It's a really good scene.
Yeah, very well done.
Of course, Peter doesn't back out because he's not that kind of guy. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say about the movie.
Right. Things to discuss. Peter gives up a chance to be in the Avengers
At the very end.
Yeah. Oh, the the Captain America stuff.
Oh yeah. So when they
there's this running gag throughout the movie.
Yeah, where Captain America is in these like
government made.
In school when you're shown the government made videos on a topic.
Health and fitness is common, and
so it's Captain America is that in all these videos because of course he is,
right? And the first time we see this, they're sitting in gym and they're watching this video, and he's like, "To be a great hero, you need to stay in shape, and to do that, I'm asking for the help of your gym teacher, right?"
And he points to the right,
and then Hannibal Buress is the gym teacher standing on the left, and he says, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a war criminal now, but the government says I got to show these." So.
Yeah, yeah, whatever. I'm pretty sure he's a war criminal now or something, but the state says I have to show you these. So,
yeah,
yeah, that was Hannibal Buress was really funny. He only has a couple of scenes, but he's really funny.
Yeah, the one girl that you can tell she has a crush on Peter. She's gonna ultimately be the Mary Jane replacement because her initials are MJ.
Yeah, Michelle is her name.
Yeah. And she's the one with the crazy hair and stuff. And there's this one scene Peter gets detention, and there's a video, and Captain America's like, "So you have detention."
He walks up, he sets this chair down, and he sets it down and does a thing where he sits it on it backwards, leaning
he's
on
trying
the
to
back
be your
of the
pal
chair.
and everything.
He's like, "So you have detention."
Yeah, but he gets up and leaves, and Hannibal Buress looks over at the girl. He's like, "Why are you even here? You don't even have detention. I like to draw people in their misery." She holds up her notebook or whatever. "Look, it's you."
Yeah, I like drawing people in distress, I think is what she said. Yeah, it's just really funny interactions.
But it comes down to the end credit scene.
Yeah.
It all comes to
at
head
the very end of the credits when he comes to just it says there's one key factor that every hero and soldier needs, and that's patience. Sometimes you might wait for a while, only to question, why did I waste my time doing this?
Right.
Or something like that.
There's this whole thing basically saying
just trolling all the people who waited until the end of the credits.
Wait till the end of the credits just for this video that isn't any sort of preview for anything.
What was the mid-credits sequence? Do you remember? It was Michael Keaton in the prison.
Yeah, Michael Keaton in the prison, and the guy comes up to him who is ultimately going to be Scorpion.
Yeah.
Says, "So, the rumor says you know who the Spider-Man is," and he's like, "No, I don't know who he is."
He says, if I knew who he was, he'd be dead already.
Right, because some people are thinking "Oh, does he really not want to kill him?" No, he wants him for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I see the argument for him sort of deciding to just let him go, because he did save Michael Keaton's life.
That's true. At the end, Spider-Man saved the Vulture's life. But anyway, he denies knowing who Spider-Man is, and then you go on. So yeah, that was the mid-credits scene.
But yeah, so I think that's all I had to say.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, very, very excellent film. And I really hope it does so well that Sony goes, you know what?
Well, I think they're gonna do another Spider-Man solo movie.
Are they?
I think so. I think I'd heard that.
I had heard that he's not going to be in anything again until all the Infinity Gauntlet stuff starts coming
Well, the
down.
Infinity Wars is going to happen before that
Infinity Wars.
Spider-Man movie.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess he isn't going to be in anything until Infinity Wars.
Because the first Infinity Wars is like next year, right? Or the year after? I don't know.
What's the next Marvel movie? Is it Black Panther? Then what's after that? Do we know? Do you know? Is it Infinity War?
No, next is Thor and then Black Panther.
That's right. Thor and then Black Panther and then Infinity War.
I think so.
Okay.
So anyway, next, so this coming up will be the next one. These we do will either be Valerian or Dunkirk.
It will be Dunkirk. I've determined that already.
Okay, it will be Dunkirk.
I'll talk about. I'll tell you about why when we're done recording. But yeah, the next one we're gonna do is gonna be Dunkirk. So that'll be up later this weekend. This is probably going up on Wednesday.
I might get up tonight.
Might go up Tuesday night. The Dunkirk one will probably go up Saturday night or Sunday morning, and then Valerian will be Sunday evening probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's So expect to see those get posted later on. We'll be back to streaming again on Sunday, as far as I know. That's the plan. Should be finishing up the Turing test.
Should be. I think we're about.
It looks like it is. Actually, looks like it's going to be a short stream.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize it until, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through that game, that your progress through the game is on the TV panels between sections.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did not realize that until about 2/3 of the way through the game, and I was like, whoa, maybe we should slow down.
Well, anyway, so
that's our schedule for this week. We'll be posting it more also of The Last of Us, and check us out on Twitch. Streaming on Twitch. Our main stream Sunday evenings will still be on YouTube, but stuff beyond that I just feel like streaming or Nolan just feels like streaming, we'll be streaming on Twitch. So take a look there. We are everything_is_bad on Twitch, because Twitch won't let us have a space in a name.
Okay.
So check it out on there. So until next time, when we do Dunkirk, so long.
Bye.